Good morning. My name is Teresa Bonapartis, and I'm the co-developer of the Entering Canaan Ministry and director of Lumina Hope and Healing After Abortion. With Mother's Day approaching on Sunday, I thought that I'd talk to you a little bit about the dynamics that go on for us in light of the holiday of Mother's Day as people who have had an abortion and have lost a child to abortion. So I thought that I would share with you excerpts from my book, which is A Journey to Healing Through Divine Mercy. The book has different meditations in it that deal with different issues regarding post-abortion healing. It's published by Marian Press and is available at their gift shop at Stockbridge and also through Amazon and other different places. Mother's Day is really tough. I mean, I know it was always really tough for me. I also recognized that it was tough before I even knew it was tough. So many times, like we go through holidays like Christmas and Mother's Day and different things, maybe the different triggers that we have of our abortion, the birth of our baby, when it would have been born, when we have the abortion. So all these different things are abortion connectors for us. And sometimes, very often, subconsciously, they trigger different things in us. So I know that I definitely was triggered by Mother's Day. I hated Mother's Day. I had two young sons, and yet I totally, was uncomfortable on Mother's Day. Every time Mother's Day was coming around, I would feel dread, and I didn't want to partake in it at all, although I honestly didn't really have a clue why I was feeling that way at the time. So I remember one time in particular when my two living sons were very young, putting them in a carriage and walking around town and crying all day, but not really being conscious of why I was crying, just feeling very, 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 very miserable about the fact that it was Mother's Day. And I guess on some subconscious level, just really recognizing that there was another child missing and I wasn't going to be able to have them with me. Another thing that really sticks out in my mind was going to church when I was finally back into church, when I had some healing. I remember going to church on Mother's Day, and after the homily or at the end of the Mass, the priest would say, "Have all our mothers stand up so we could give you a blessing." And I remember totally just feeling so mortified by that. I didn't want to stand up for a blessing. I didn't think I deserved a blessing. But at the same time, I also was terrified that if I didn't stand up for a blessing, these people knew that I had two young sons, and why wouldn't I be standing up for a blessing? And that by not doing it, they would all know that I had had an abortion. And so there was this huge conflict in me all the time, what to do, how to do it, and really struggling with the fact of being the mother of an aborted baby. And even though, like I said, I had had some healing, still very much struggling with all the issues that would come around the holiday and what it had done for me. So years later, we started the ministry, and I began the ministry for women with the Sisters of Life. And after I had moved further along in my healing, obviously when I was doing the ministry, we have these things called gatherings every month, which would be a group where we get together and address some kind of issue relating to abortion so that people could share and give each other just different things that worked for them. So we would share our hearts, we'd have scripture, we'd have adoration. And Mother's Day was coming, and we wanted to do something special. And I was like, I want to get a rose for everybody. I want to put a rose on the table for everybody when they walk in, give them a rose, and have a little tag on it that says Happy Mother's Day. The sisters were mortified. They were very worried about doing that, and I understand where they were coming from. But for me, I had found by that time that my peace in all of this was in acknowledging my child. And even though my child wasn't here with me in this world, he was my child. And just to really acknowledge his presence in a spiritual realm and his dignity as a person, and the fact that I was his mother, whether he was here or not. And like I think we know as post-abortive people that there's so nobody, like before the abortion, people might have opinions if they know and tell you what they think is the best thing for you to do, but most often after an abortion no one ever talks about it again. You're left there with your feelings, feeling very alone, and all these different things come up for you, and nobody knows what to say, so nobody says anything. I always call it the monster in the room. Like, we have this monster in the room, which is our abortion, and everybody knows it's there, but nobody addresses it. And so that's the way that it is for Mother's Day too. I think everybody knows that it's there, but nobody addresses it. But we know in our hearts that we're still mothers. And so I went and I bought white roses for all the women and put the little tags on them. And they came into the gathering, and as they came in, one by one, I gave them a rose. And contrary to all the fears that had been there before we did it, the women were so grateful and so happy to have their babies acknowledged, to have the fact that their babies, that they were the mother of these babies acknowledged, even though their babies weren't here. Was it difficult for some of them? Of course it is. Obviously, building a relationship with a child when you are responsible for its death is very, very a hard thing to get through and a hard thing to get past. But it's key in healing. It's key in healing to know that your children desire for you to have joy in your life. Your children desire your healing. Your children desire for you to get to heaven and to spend eternity with them. And that's the desire of God as well, that we turn ourselves over to Him in humility and trust, and that we accept His forgiveness and His mercy, and that we move forward in life, that we learn about the very real dynamics of healing from abortion, and with the right help start addressing them. I mean, there's some people that think, oh, maybe, you just tell your story and that's the end of it, but it's not the end of it. I'm not going to lie. There's so many things to learn, because our abortion experiences affect so much of what we are as people and the things that we do in the here and the now. And until we're able to identify things like Mother's Day, like the pain of Mother's Day, that many people might be feeling and not even realize that that's why they're feeling it, until we start to really acknowledge those connectors, those triggers in our life, they're always going to have some kind of a power over us. Whereas if we acknowledge them, like with Mother's Day, acknowledge the fact, yeah, I am a mother. I'm a mother of a baby that I aborted. And that's my child, and my child desires my healing. My child desires for me to be reunited with him someday in heaven. And that's really the truth of what is the truth of God's love and His mercy and God's desire for us. Yeah, we may not be able to hold the physical bodies of our children on earth, but we can hold them spiritually and emotionally in our hearts. And I think that that's just so important to recognize. And we do that, right? We hold them spiritually, emotionally in our hearts. So by acknowledging our motherhood, we're acknowledging that love that we have in our hearts for our children, and making them part of our family on a spiritual level. We might be separated by time and by space, but we're joined forever by grace and by love in the process of our healing. And I'm really know that that's true. I know that that's been my experience, and I know that it's been an experience of countless people who have come through our ministry. So we each entrust ourselves to the hands of Mary, our Mother of Mercy, and may we each embrace our children who are living in the Lord, and know that we are their mothers, and that they love us, and that we love them. And I'm just going to end with a quote from Pope Francis in a general audience about mothers. Mothers always know how to give witness, even in the worst of times, to tenderness, dedication, and moral strength. Even though our children aren't here, we can do that. We could give witness to them by tenderness, by our moral strength, by our desire to heal, and our desire to be with them in spirit. And God, who's rich in mercy and love, that's His desire for us too. And so I pray that each of you this Mother's Day, if you're feeling sorrow, or any of the different things that might come up for you during this day, I pray most of all that you have peace, that in your hearts you can embrace your children, knowing they are in the arms of Jesus and Mary, and knowing that they love you and desire your healing too. Happy Mother's Day.